Kale watched the flickering lights on the control panel, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and anxiety. He had been chosen for this mission after rigorous testing, a mission that would bring his people face to face with the enigmatic race they had only glimpsed from afar. The Zorian had been a mystery for generations, their advanced ships spotted occasionally at the edges of known space, but direct contact had eluded them until now. Kale's people had been preparing for this moment for decades. The negotiations had been painstakingly slow, with each side carefully considering every word, every gesture. Kale's greatest hope was that today would finally see the conclusion of the negotiations his ancestors had begun. Entering the chamber where the meeting was set to take place, Kale took a deep breath and activated the signal to announce their presence. "I remember when we had to send a messenger physically," murmured Elder Zurich, a veteran diplomat who had served Kale's people for nearly a century. "First contact was made in such a rudimentary way, and now look at us, using instant communication." The doors slid open with a smooth hiss, revealing the meeting room. The chamber was vast, its walls adorned with holographic projections of distant galaxies and star systems. Kale had seen images of the Zorian, but seeing them in person was a different experience entirely. They were taller than expected, standing at least a head above Kale and his delegation. Their skin was a pale, almost translucent blue, and their eyes glowed faintly, exuding an aura of ancient wisdom. "Welcome, delegates," a Zorian representative said in a melodious voice that seemed to resonate within Kale's very being. The Zorian had adapted to their environment in ways Kale's people had not anticipated. The delegation's breath caught as they took in the sight of the Zeons, creatures of both beauty and alienness. Elder Zurich, always the first to regain composure, stepped forward. "We are honored to be here. Our people have waited for this moment for many generations. We hope to finalize the agreements today." The Zorian nodded slowly, their movements graceful and deliberate. "Indeed, we too have anticipated this meeting. Your patience has been remarkable. We have prepared the documents as requested." Kale felt a vibration in his handheld device as the documents were transferred. He quickly reviewed them, noting the complexity of the agreements. His eyes narrowed as he reached a section that puzzled him. "Excuse me," Kale said, addressing the Zorian. "Could you clarify these figures? The time frames seem unusual." The Zorian tilted its head, a gesture that Kale interpreted as curiosity. "Ah, those are our chronological markers. I apologize if there is confusion. It seems our units of time differ from yours." Elder Zurich raised an eyebrow. "How do you measure time, if I may ask?" The Zorian paused as if considering how to explain. "Our time is measured in cycles, each cycle encompassing the movement of our stars and the ebb and flow of energy through our world. The units you see there represent a fraction of our cycles, which may seem lengthy to you." Kale's heart skipped a beat as he did the mental calculations. The Zorian cycles appeared to span centuries, perhaps even millennia by his people's standards. The implications were staggering. "So you have been conducting these negotiations for how long by your reckoning?" Kale asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Approximately 12 cycles," the Zorian replied, its tone matter-of-fact. "To us, it is a modest amount of time." Kale felt the room grow still as his fellow delegates processed this revelation. What was a modest time to the Zorian equated to nearly 1,200 of their years. The Zorian had been waiting patiently while Kale's people had lived and died over generations, believing these negotiations to be a drawn-out process by their standards alone. Zurich, recovering from his astonishment, asked, "And how long do your kind typically live?" The Zorian regarded him with an almost serene expression. "Our lifespans are tied to the cycles, and we live for many. By your time, I would say several thousand of your years." The weight of this statement hung in the air as the realization dawned on them that they were speaking to beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations, all within the span of their natural lives. "Your longevity is extraordinary," Zurich finally said, struggling to maintain his diplomatic composure. "To think we have been speaking with individuals who may have lived through events our history only records in legend." "Time is but a thread woven into the fabric of existence," the Zorian responded calmly. "We have observed many threads, but we are here now, ready to weave yours into our tapestry." Kale exchanged glances with his fellow delegates. This was more than just a negotiation, it was a meeting of epochs, of lifetimes compressed into moments for the Zorian. Kale, feeling the enormity of the situation, took a deep breath and spoke. "Then let us weave together something that will endure, something that will last far beyond the lifespans of our people, a bond that transcends time itself." The Zorian dipped its head in agreement, and with that, the final seals were placed on the agreement, binding their two races together in a union that would span millennia. As the Zorian activated their devices to signal the end of the negotiations, Kale looked out at the starfield visible through the chamber's massive viewport. The stars seemed closer, brighter, as if they too had witnessed the momentous occasion. "Beautiful, isn't it?" the Zorian's voice came softly from behind him. "The universe is vast, and we are but small parts of it, but together we can create something that will last." Kale nodded, a sense of awe filling him. "Yes, together we will make history that even the stars will remember." And so, as they prepared to depart, Kale knew that this was only the beginning of a new era, one that would see their peoples rise together, bound by a common understanding and the shared legacy of time itself. As the final seals were placed on the agreement, a soft chime echoed through the chamber, signaling the official conclusion of the negotiations. The Zorian devices emitted a gentle glow, casting an ethereal light across the room. Kale felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also a newfound weight, an understanding that they had just entered into a partnership that would shape the course of their civilization for millennia. The Zorian leader, who had been overseeing the entire process, stepped forward and extended a hand toward Kale, a gesture that, despite their differences, was universally understood. Kale hesitated for a moment, then reached out, clasping the Zorian's hand in his own. The Zorian's skin was cool and smooth, a stark contrast to Kale's warm and textured palm. The connection felt symbolic, a bridge between their two worlds. "Let this be the first step of many," the Zorian leader said, their voice resonating with a calm, ancient wisdom. "Our peoples are now bound by a shared destiny." Kale nodded, his mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. The alliance with the Zorian would bring new technology, knowledge, and opportunities that his people could scarcely have imagined. But it also brought new challenges, adapting to the Zorians' way of life, understanding their culture, and maintaining a relationship that spanned not just years but centuries. Elder Xeric, who had been quietly observing the exchange, spoke up. "This is a momentous occasion, one that will be remembered in our histories for generations. But we must not forget that with this alliance comes great responsibility. We have much to learn from each other, and we must approach this relationship with humility and respect." The Zorian leader inclined their head slightly. "Indeed, our longevity has taught us patience, but also the importance of nurturing our alliances. We do not take this partnership lightly." As the delegates began to gather their belongings, preparing to leave the chamber, Kale's thoughts drifted to the future. He envisioned the possibilities that lay ahead, the technological advancements, the cultural exchanges, the exploration of distant worlds. But he also felt the weight of the past, the responsibility of honoring the legacy of those who had come before him. "Before we depart," Kale said, turning to the Zorian leader, "I have a request. We would like to learn more about your people, your history, and your way of life. Our alliance will be stronger if we truly understand each other." The Zorian leader's eyes gleamed with something akin to pride. "That is a wise request, Kale. We will share our knowledge with you, just as we hope to learn from your people. Our histories are long, but they are also rich with lessons. We believe that by sharing our stories, we can forge a deeper connection." Kale smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "Thank you. We look forward to it." As they made their way out of the chamber, the Zorian leader walked alongside Kale, guiding him through the vast corridors of their ship. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings, each one telling a story of their people's past, victories, losses, explorations, and discoveries. It was clear that the Zorian held their history in high regard, using it as a foundation for their present and future. "These carvings," Kale remarked, "they're beautiful. Do they represent your history?" The Zorian leader nodded. "Yes, each one is a chapter of our story. We believe that by preserving our past, we can guide our future. It is important to remember where we came from so we do not lose sight of who we are." Kale felt a deep admiration for the Zorian. Despite their advanced technology and long lifespans, they remained grounded in their heritage. It was a lesson that,